Hello, everybody, and welcome back to It All Depends on the Situation. I'm your host, Eric, and once again joined by my co-host and wife, Ashley.
Hello.
All right. I know we've been talking about a lot of nostalgic things lately, so Ashley and I got to talking about childhood movies and cartoons we used to watch back in the day that weren't Disney-related.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, when you think of especially like the early to mid-90s, you think of Disney.
Yep, the Disney Renaissance and everything.
But there were a lot of movies that, especially that I watched, that were not Disney movies.
Oh, yeah. And for me as well. Like I said, I remember going out to the local library and renting a whole bunch of old VHS tapes of, like, the namesake of this episode, Don Bluth movies.
Yeah, and he was actually thinking back about it when we were talking about this. Don Bluth was really a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah, both of ours. Because, yeah, we're going all the way back. Like, there's a laundry list of different things that he made from...
Well, I would say, because if those of you I'm sure most of you have watched a Don Bluth movie and might not have known who Don Bluth is, but I mean, one of his most popular movies was The Secret of NIMH.
Yep. That was one of, I think, his first movie, actually.
I think it was.
Yeah. So, going down the list here of just the different movies he made, Secret of NIMH, American Tail, the original American Tail, Not Fievel Goes West, Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Rockadoodle, Thumbelina, Troll in Central Park, The Pimple and the Penguin, Anastasia, and the little, I think, straight to DVD or straight to VHS sequel, Bardock. And then there was the infamous Titan AE. So those are all Don Bluth movies.
Okay, when you said Bardock, I was not thinking of Anastasia. I was thinking of Bardock, father of Goku.
No, not that. That's Bardock. He's Bartok.
Oh, I think it's the Bardock.
Yeah, I probably did say Bardock. But...
Yeah, you did say Bardock. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Bardock. He talks like this.
But yeah, I watched a ton of Don Bluth movies as a kid. Especially, actually, I'm holding it in my hand right now because I brought it down with me.
The Secret of NIMH amulet.
I do. I have, for those of you that have seen it, it's this like gold amulet with a big red gem in the middle of it, and I've always wanted it. Mm-hmm. So Eric here bought it for me. Was it for my birthday?
Yeah, it was just like a little gift.
Or a gift. So. I think it was a just because present because I've always wanted it.
Yeah. And that movie's very close to, you know, your childhood nostalgia and everything. So I know it meant a lot to you.
Well, that was like, I remember going to the video store, because we talked about it before, and like, I forget what podcast it was now, when I would go to Roadrunner Video.
Oh, yeah. And
I would rent The Secret of NIMH and Rockadoodle. If you ask my parents, I rented Rockadoodle. Oh, man. So many times.
I rented Rockadoodle a lot as well. I never rented Secret of NIMH. So I just recently watched it with you, about, I think 2 years ago?
Had you ever seen it before?
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, because I remember you kind of thought it was a bit creepy.
Yeah, it has like a more darker, grittier like type of like feel to it.
But that's what I liked. Even as a kid, that's kind of what I liked about it. Kind
of like a Don Bluth staple is kind of more grittier looking animation.
But yeah, The Secret of NIMH, it's about mice. Mm-hmm. And it's about the mice and rats. Mm-hmm. And the main character, she's a little mouse character. Mm-hmm. And it starts off like they're living in the farmer's field and their home's threatened because of a tractor. They're like getting ready to plow the field or something. Mm-hmm. But then you find out the rats in the movie, like they have this whole like rat metropolis. And didn't you find out later on in the movie that they were lab rats?
Yeah. And they were experimenting on it and it gave them like what? I don't know if it's like human intelligence or something like that.
Yeah, they were like super smart.
Yeah, they were actually like a smart colony of rats or something like that. They were capable of like sentient thought or something.
Yeah.
So, like I said, very, very kind of weird movie for me, but I know it's very nostalgic for you.
The part that kind of creeped me out as a kid, but I thought was still cool, when Mrs. Grisby, that's the name of the main character mouse lady, when she goes to see the owls. That part, the animation, really cool, but it scared me as a kid.
Oh, yeah. But going back to Rockadoodle, I remember running that thing a whole bunch. Just kind of jamming out, because apparently the voice behind Chanticleer, I think was the rooster. He's the rooster. It's actually Glenn Campbell.
And I didn't realize that as a kid. I'm like, I didn't know who Glenn Campbell was, but now I'm like, oh my God, it's Glenn Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a cool movie. So
remember, and it started off as a live action movie.
Yeah, it phases in between, because they were kind of experimenting that with animation back then, where of like the Page Master, how they took like real life and like inserted a kid into like an animated movie and then like brought him back out with his animated characters and bam. So it was that type of thing.
And didn't the main character kid get turned into a cat?
Got turned to a cat, yeah, which is weird. So a lot of big name voice actors in that one too. But that was a great movie. But yeah, the other big one that I'm sure resonates with a lot of people was Land Before Time.
Oh, every time I just think of
Littlefoot's
mother. Oh. Mm-hmm. Well, and I didn't realize it until I looked it up before we did this, that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were producers on that movie. I didn't know that till I just looked it up.
Yep. But Don Bluth was the one who really kind of like what was the main writer behind a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, scripting the characters, and oh my gosh. Yeah. Legendary tale.
And the Tree Stars.
Yeah. Good old Tree Stars. And not to mention all the spin-off, like straight to VHS or DVD.
There were 13 direct to VHS sequels.
Which I've seen a good chunk of those throughout my childhood because I used to rent them for the library a lot.
I think I only saw the second one. I never saw it. I never saw. Oh wait, Chomper. I forgot about Chomper. Yeah, that's the
second one, I think.
Yeah, but the other ones never saw.
And those ones were not directed by Don Bluth. It was just a one-off. The very first one he directed, and then nothing.
That was kind of common in Disney movies. Like they would come out with Disney movies, and then they would make direct to VHS sequels, which a lot of times were garbage.
They were. Although I kind of like the Aladdin ones. So.
The Little Mermaid ones weren't.
Yeah,
bad.
Little Mermaid was decent
too. They
weren't
wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But most of them were god awful.
But Land Before Time, I remember, I think the first copy I got from that one was, I think through a McDonald's promotion. Because back in the early 90s, they had a thing going where if you bought like a combo meal for $5.99, you could pick up a VHS tape. And it had like Field of Dreams, Land Before Time, and a couple other movies too. And my dad ended up picking up one copy because I was in the car with him. And he's just like, here you go. So I ended up watching that. And
I remember getting Land Before Time from the library.
Oh, yeah.
A lot from the library.
I read a lot of the sequels, I think, from the library.
What was another Don Bluth movie?
Oh, there's tons of them. I remember Troll in Central Park, I will watch a bunch. These are not Don Bluth movies, but there was We're Back, A Dinosaur Story.
Oh, that is a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Also had kind of like a dark and gritty feel to it. A lot of those early 90s, late 80s movies had that kind of feel to their films.
Because We're Back. That's another one. I think I actually still own the VHS of that.
Oh, yeah. Roll Back the Rock to the Dawn of Time.
That was John Goodman.
John Goodman.
As Rex.
Mm-hmm. He did a great job with that one.
Yeah. I just remember in the movie where they're in the parade and they're pretending to be like balloons or
trying to be like robots or something. I wish dinosaurs were real. And he breaks into song and dance. Roll back the rock to the dawn of time.
It really, but thinking about it, that could have been. It felt like a Don Bluth movie.
Yeah,
it did.
Well, a lot of them had that type of feel to it.
And what was her name? I want to call her Edna Mode because she kind of reminds me of Edna from The Incredibles. The lady was talking about the Museum of Natural History.
Oh,
she sounds like Julia Child.
I thought it was Julia Child.
I thought it was Julia Child.
Julia Child.
Yeah.
The Museum of Natural History.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that she actually voiced that character.
I thought that was Julia Child.
There was, a lot of big voice actors in that one, too. My gosh, let me look that up. We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, 1993. The cast. Jay Leno was in it.
What did he voice?
Vorb.
Oh, Vorb.
Martin Short was Stubbs the Clown.
Oh, yeah, the clown.
Uh-huh. Charles Flesher was Dweeb. Mm-hmm. Felicity Kendall was Elsa, the pterodactyl. Mm-hmm. Walter Cronkite was Captain New Eyes.
That's right.
Yeah, I know there was a big name actor that played the Museum of Natural History.
Oh, excuse me. Oh man, now I kind of want to watch that because I love that movie.
Roll Back the Rock to the Dawn of Time. That was a classic.
And then what was another Don Bluth movie that we talked? Because I know you just listed them. Oh yeah, the other one, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah. That one was always kind of depressing for me. It's just like, ugh.
You know, sometimes they wonder. I saw like people online talking about like wonder why millennials have issues with like depression and anxiety.
And you look at all the movies we watched growing up, and we're like, damn. So yeah, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. There was another sequel, but I think All Dogs Go to Heaven 1, I think, was in theaters. The second one was not. So that was very common, like we said back in the 90s. And then another movie that wasn't a Don Bluth movie, but I know holds a special place in your heart, FernGully.
Oh, yes.
FernGully is another interesting...
Which, you looked it up before. It only has a 67%
on
Rotten Tomatoes. Erroneous.
Yeah.
Erroneous.
I thought it was just okay.
No, that's a classic.
Yeah. It's basically just the same story as Avatar.
It is Avatar copied FernGully.
Oh, yeah.
I will go down...
100%.
I will ride that ship. I will go down with that ship.
Yep. The parallels are just absolutely uncanny.
It's literally the same story.
Yeah.
It's almost the exact same story.
Yep. Except they don't have pollution that's been sexified by Tim Curry in song form.
Yeah, so in FernGully, the main villain is named Hexus.
Yeah.
And if you go on YouTube and you look up the song that he sings,
Toxic Love,
the comment section is hilarious.
It's filthy.
It's hilarious.
Absolutely filthy. And so is this parody FernGully fan page on Facebook. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, God.
Some of the things they posted is just disgusting.
I had to leave that page. I'm like, I just wanted to see stuff
sometimes
about
you join like random
FernGully.
meme pages because they throw like funny bits up that like make references to these films you've seen. But this one was just like, oh, my God. It took it to a whole like degrading level.
Well, I do think FernGully is kind of one of the reasons I like nature so much.
Yeah. Well, that was the main goal of it, is to, get kids to appreciate nature. It's just like, pollution's bad and, machines and technology bad. No, you need to like center yourself and become more bound to earth and nature.
And I always thought that the animation, speaking of Hexus, the animation when he's that black toxic goo and then the skeleton comes out of it.
Yeah, and he grabs onto the pipes. And
I thought that animation was so cool.
Yeah, they did an awesome job with that transition. So, and then he turns like a giant smoke cloud billowing off the top of this big old tree cutter
voiced
machine.
by Tim Curry.
Yeah, Tim Curry. Tim Curry, not Tim Curly.
Tim Curly. Now I'm just thinking of Tim Curry with like super curly hair.
I'm thinking of like Curly from Three Stooges. Yeah, FernGully, interesting tale. So, and it also had Robin Williams in
as
it.
Betty.
Yeah, as Batty.
I still know most of the words to the Batty rap. Don't worry, I will not rap it here. I'm not going to do it. But I still know most of the words to it. If we wouldn't get hit with a copyright thing, I'd play a little bit of it, but nope.
We're good. We can make references to it, though.
Yes.
Going back to another Don Bluth movie, though, American Tail. So
yes.
That's the one about Feifel and his family. They're like a family of mice, and they immigrate over to, New York from Russia?
I think they come to New York.
Yeah. And they're basically just trying to... It's the classic immigrant story to America. They're trying to find their way in things. They had these big aspirations and promises of like, America, it's the land of everything, blah, blah, blah. And they find out that like there's a whole bunch of like shit that goes down. Cats are running a lot of things.
What's the name of the big orange cat? Tiger?
Yeah. Voiced by Don DeLuise.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember some of the other stuff from that movie. So they also sing the song, Somewhere Out There.
I almost forgot that was from that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was big time. That was also produced by Steven Spielberg, I believe, too. So, but written, I think, by Don Bluth.
Well, the sequel to it, Fievel Goes West. I know that Don Bluth.
That's the one that I ended up watching a lot and renting a lot from stores.
Well, remember the sheriff who was a dog?
Yeah.
He was voiced by Jimmy Stewart.
Yep, Jimmy Stewart.
What was that dog's name?
Give him the lazy eye.
Yeah,
their eyes would bulge out
literally bulge out of their socket.
No, just listen to me, would you?
I actually think that's one of the last things Jimmy Stewart did before he died.
Yep, I think you're right. He's got a heck of a career, too. Oh, my goodness. So amazed they were able to get him for, that was a straight-to cassette tape, wasn't it? That didn't even come out in theaters.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, that's wild. Jimmy Stewart. I want to live again, Clarence. There's also a troll in Central Park.
See, that one I've never seen.
That one I've seen a lot, too. It's about this little troll. Apparently he has a green thumb. Anything he touches will, it'll grow like this giant garden.
Maybe I have, because now that you say that does sound kind of familiar.
I've seen that one quite a bit. Kind of bittersweet. I don't know if he, turns into stone or something. So, it's been a while since I've seen
maybe I have seen that.
Yeah, maybe Poke on the first movie ripped that off. We'll have to go back and look at that. Thumbelina. You've watched that one.
I did. I remember seeing Thumbelina. But you've never seen that one.
No, I've not seen Thumbelina. I've seen ads and commercials for Thumbelina.
I mean, granted, I have not watched it since I was a kid, so I don't remember much of it, but I do remember that I've seen it.
Yep. And while we're on the topic of inspiring stories, I thought I'd do a segue into another audiobook recommendation. Now available on Audible is an audiobook called Success Reimagined: Inspiring Stories of Local Leaders, written by Jennifer Bright, Rita Guthrie,
and Robert Sayer, and narrated by me, Eric Brown. This audiobook is actually one of my favorites because it's a collection of 26 different success stories of local business leaders in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Definitely give it a listen sometime. Now available on Audible. And we're back to the pod.
Yeah, Pebble the Penguin, I have not seen.
Never seen that one either.
One that I treasure, which was really just kind of like a blow across Disney's bow, because during this time of like the 90s, Disney was in the midst of the Disney Renaissance. They were all about like having this awesome story with fantastic animation and epic songs that go with the whole production of the story. And Don Bluth's reaction to that and response to like the Disney Renaissance was Anastasia.
A lot of people thought Anastasia was a Disney movie.
And that's how convincing it was, because it was phenomenal. I remember the marketing for it, too, I think with Burger King. So they had like a little bar talk thing you could stick on your window or something. Mm-hmm. But I remember the songs were outstanding. Once Upon a December, There's a Rumor in St. Petersburg.
Well, that actually, Anastasia became a Broadway musical, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And honestly, kicking myself for not seeing that, too, because I guarantee that's probably one of the better stories to see. So even though the real story of Anastasia is nothing like this.
No, not even close.
If you actually look up the real history, it's like actually way more depressing and sad.
Well, okay, most of these movies, like especially Disney movies, the tales that they're actually based on are really dark and not what Disney made them out to be.
You could argue too, like, is there truly a thing as a Disney original? Because it seems like they've lifted a lot of stories from like so many other sources.
Yeah.
Winnie the Pooh, for instance, it was created way early on, and they basically, got the rights to it and made Winnie the Pooh franchise through Disney.
The story of Snow White already existed. Cinderella already
Grimm's
existed.
Fairy Tales.
Little Mermaid. Mm-hmm. Even Frozen. That's based off of
the Snow Queen.
Snow Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like Hans Christian Andersen, which if you break down the names, Hans, Christoph, Anna, Sven.
Oh.
Yeah, how about that one? So mind blown. Yeah, but Disney, and then another one we were talking about too was, okay, Pixar was trying to come into their own back when they were first starting, and all of a sudden they come out with Toy Story, just out of the blue. Oh my gosh, it's an original movie. Except not.
Yeah, okay. So another popular like movies or shows was by Jim Henson. Obviously he came up with the Muppets and stuff. But there was one he made I believe it came out in the late 80s. It was called A Christmas Toy.
Yep.
And one of my favorite like Christmas movies growing up as a kid, but it's literally almost the exact same story as Toy Story.
Yep. Because basically it's like this, this one toy is being replaced by a new toy on Christmas Day.
Yes.
And it's just like, except only it's Andy's birthday in Toy Story, and it's being replaced by a new toy.
Well, but also, so in A Christmas Toy, like when there's people around, obviously the toys don't move and everything, but as soon as the people go away, the toys come to life.
Yeah.
Like Toy Story. And then the new favorite toy in the Christmas Toy is like this space character. Oh my God, what was her name? I can't remember the name of the toy, but yeah, it's basically like some space lady. Mm-hmm. And then in Toy Story,
it's a spaceman.
Spaceman. So very similar story.
Yeah, oddly similar.
Same
thing could be said with The Lion King, because it's revered as like the quintessential, this is like the embodiment of the Disney Renaissance is Lion King. Oh my gosh, they make it a Broadway production and everything. If you really go back and look at what Japan was doing with anime, they made Kimba the White Lion.
And it's the same story as The Lion King.
You could look back and like scene for scene when he's battling against another lion in his, when he's an adult, Kimba like basically becoming, a story of like him coming into his own.
Yeah.
The battle sequences are literally identical. It's nuts. It came out like at least a decade or two before. So, gotta question the source material here, Disney.
Well, yeah, like in thinking about the Christmas Toy too, that could be kind of. I remember the one. There was one of the toys because it said if there weren't people around you, they can come to life. But then if you were seen, if the toy was seen, they would like basically essentially die.
Right.
And
they'd lose their sentient.
Well, there was this one. It was a cat toy named Mew, and it was seen, and it basically died.
Yeah.
Eventually, it came back to life at the end, but I'm like, that's kind of traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was super bothered by that as a kid.
There was one, it was like a Christmas story that aired on TV about a little Christmas bulb called Noel.
Oh my God, Noel.
Yeah, that was a really that movie messed me up as a kid because like
didn't it break?
Yeah, at the very end it broke, and it basically they referenced like, okay, Noel died at the end. And they're like, what? And they're like, no, his spirit lives on in the spirit of Christmas. Feel great about it. And it's like, we've been following around this bulb everywhere, and basically he's trying to bring like the spirit of Christmas to everybody, and he falls off a tree, smashes into a million pieces. And yeah, we're supposed to feel good about it.
Oh man, I forgot about Noel.
Yeah, that was just, that goes way back in the core memories. Ugh.
Yeah,
and then we wonder why, millennials are just like, dang, man. So sad. We had stories like that growing up.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Ugh. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm depressed just thinking about that now. I totally forgot about Noel.
That was gutting. Absolutely gutting back then.
Ugh. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, exactly.
We need the Debbie Downer noise for this.
Yeah, seriously. But once again, that's kind of more to the tune of Don Bluth stuff because it was like kind of more depressing and gritty. Mm-hmm. So. Anastasia was very kind of.
It was kind of it was gritty too.
Oh yeah, it had some of its very dark scenes too, like Rasputin basically in hell.
Oh yeah.
With that whole choreography thing where he's dancing with the bugs.
Is this like demon bugs?
Mm-hmm.
Which wasn't he the same voice actor that did Winnie the Pooh?
The singing voice was Jim Cummings, but the original voice for Rasputin through the majority of the film was actually the guy who voiced Dr. Emmett Brown in Back to the Future, Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
Yes. He's the main voice for Rasputin.
He's the speaking voice, but the singing voice.
The singing voice is Jim Cummings. And Jim Cummings has done virtually everything.
Oh my
you
God,
can imagine.
So many voices.
His resume is just incredible.
Thousands.
Yeah.
It has to be thousands.
He was Razul in Aladdin. It's like, I'll have you on a plate, street rat.
Oh, yeah, that was him.
I also played Razul in Aladdin back in high school in a theatrical play. So, channeling Jim Cummings there. But he was, I think he was Pete in Goof Troop, too.
I think he was.
He was Goofy's neighbor. Gorge.
What was, there was another movie. Well, so speaking of movies that disturbed me as a kid, this was not a Don Bluth Disney movie like at all. This is kind of like way off the beaten path here. I remember it was a French animated movie called Fantastic Planet.
Oh.
So I believe it came out in like the 60s or the 70s. But I remember watching it. I think my dad showed it to me. Oh, it freaks me out.
This is animated?
It is.
Oh.
Ugh, like I can't. It's so disturbing to me. It's unsettling to me. Like if I can't even watch the trailer. I get so disturbed by it. Like I that's the best way I could. I know a lot of people like love that movie. They think it's like a classic. It's sci-fi, I believe, but I can't. It makes me uncomfortable just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But
I've never seen it. Kind of glad I haven't seen it. Actually,
you would be freaked out by it. 100%. Like you would be weirded out by it.
I've seen some weird movies. I mean, when you've seen Neon Genesis, I mean,
Fantastic Planet freaks me out more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Gumby freaks you out too.
Gumby. Here's the weird thing, like
Gumby and Wallace and Gromit. I mean, Wallace and Gromit's innocent.
But certain claymation things freak me out.
Is it Uncanny Valley type
I think
stuff?
it's Uncanny Valley for me. Which, if you don't know what Uncanny Valley is, isn't that basically like where you're afraid of like things that are not like that are kind of human-like but aren't? But certain claymation things don't bother me. Like Nightmare Before Christmas doesn't bother me.
I don't know if that's real claymation. That's more stop motion.
Is it? But still.
Yeah. What's this?
But yeah, for some reason Gumby freaks me out. Ugh, God. Ugh.
Yeah. See, I never minded Gumby. I could see where it would give off kind of like a very creepy vibe.
Oh God. Ugh.
So.
Ugh. I don't know why.
Good old Gumby.
Oh, now I'm thinking about Fantastic Planet. And I'm like, ugh. Okay.
Yeah, weird movies. Going back to the 90s and everything, I remember there was another movie that didn't get a lot of press, but I always thought was interesting. It was Quest for Camelot.
Oh, yeah.
Like that movie with like the two-headed dragon and everything. So that was an interesting movie. And then Disney came out with, I think shortly after that, was Treasure Planet.
Okay, and I know a lot of people hate Treasure Planet.
With me being one of them.
I love Treasure Planet. I loved Treasure
It
Planet.
deserved to get bombed.
No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Well, but that's like along the same lines as another Don Bluth movie we mentioned earlier, Titan AE.
And those two competed, I think, against each other because I think Titan AE came out in like what 2000 or something.
Well, because I remember seeing the trailer for Titan AE, and basically in the trailer, Earth blows up, and I'm like, oh,
that's a good start to a nice wholesome movie.
So, but I think both Treasure Planet and Titan AE,
they both bombed.
Both bombed horribly.
But I think Titan AE, I think that actually collapsed a company. So, because Titan AE, I think cost anywhere between like $50 to $75 million for an animated movie. Yeah, and it just fizzled and burned. Never seen it. So
I think I did see Titan AE. I'm pretty sure I did.
Sounds like I'm not missing out on much though.
But yeah, Treasure Planet was.
I mean, it's just a rehash of like Treasure Island with like space critters.
But I thought it was a good movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it.
Back, there was a lot of remakes of Treasure Island throughout the 90s because there was Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And then you had that Treasure Planet. So, I don't know. Was there like some kind of pirate thing going on back then?
Maybe.
And Pirates of the Caribbean was right around the corner in like what, 2000, was it 2003? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good old piratey things.
Well, so what did Don Bluth do after Titan AE? Because I feel like that was kind of like the last big...
That was the last big movie thing, because I think bombed so bad. I don't know if like he was able to like get another gig.
To Google, okay, let me
I thought he was like, I don't know if he was teaching classes or like had his own, like, maybe he got into like television, TV-related shows or something.
Well, let me see. According to the internet, what is he doing now? So... Oh, apparently in 2002... he developed the video game Dragon's Lair 3D, Return to the Lair.
Oh, that's right. He did all the Dragon's Lair games. Yeah, that was like an interesting game. I remember my cousins would get into that one a lot, where basically certain platforms in the game would like light up or something, and you had to like press over, up, or something like that in the arcades or like on a home console. And yeah.
Well, this is interesting. It said in 2020... a live-action Dragon's Lair film starring Ryan Reynolds was announced to be released in 2020, but it ended up being postponed.
Because of the pandemic?
And Don Bluth was listed as a producer.
Mm.
And then in 2020, Bluth launched a new animation studio called Don Bluth Studios.
I mean, I think he'd be great at teaching classes and everything, because there's a lot of people from our generation and even younger generations that really flock to his movies. They like him a lot.
Let's see, his Bluth's memoir, Somewhere Out There, My Animated Life, was released on July 19th, 2022. I would read that.
Oh, yeah.
And it said the latest thing he did, a children's picture book, Yuki, Star of the Sea, was released on April 1st, 2024.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to read his memoir. I think that would be very interesting.
Absolutely. I'd like to pick that up, too.
Well, didn't we watched a documentary?
A whole documentary
about
on Don Bluth. And yeah, I guess, did he work for Disney at one point?
He
at the
did.
Very beginning of the Disney Dark Ages, after Walt Disney himself passed away, the whole animation studio, they were just kind of like in flux right then, because I guess the Jungle Book had just released or something. That was the last one that Disney was like involved in.
Yeah.
And then they went through a period where like they didn't know what they were doing, so they would like recycle a lot of like, certain moments in previous Disney movies and like superimpose them into others. Mm-hmm. So what's a good example of that? Like,
well, I remember there was clips where they used the same clips from something else for the Jungle Book.
Yep. Yeah, I think it was
Robin Hood. Robin Hood, or was it Winnie the Pooh?
No, Robin Hood. Robin Hood, they ended up like recasting, because I think it was like Little John was a big bear.
Yeah.
They basically had like the same movements as Baloo the Bear in Jungle Book. So they would recycle that. Aristocats, I think, copied off of another one too. So there was just a whole series of like, from what was that, the 70s and 80s. There was just kind of like a weird feeling up here. They call it the Disney Dark Ages.
And so Don Bluth worked with Disney during that time.
I think very early on, and then
they had a falling out, didn't they?
There was some kind of falling out, and then he basically started his own company, and Secret of NIMH came out.
Let me hold on. Disney.
But no question, he's a phenomenal animator.
So he was hired in 1955 by Walt Disney Production as an assistant for Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he had worked at Disney for that long.
Mm-hmm. But once again, learns the trick of the trade and then goes off to do his own thing. So, and he honestly, throughout, the 80s, he really dominated against Disney. And then when the Disney Renaissance came up with a whole new, they basically brought in a whole new animation generation, and they created the Disney Renaissance.
So the last Disney movie Don Bluth worked on was The Fox and the Hound.
Really?
Yeah, and then it says on his 42nd birthday in 1979, Bluth resigned to establish his own animation studio. Yeah, the studio's first feature film was The Secret of NIMH in 1982. Mm-hmm. Man, that was such a great movie.
Yeah, and at the time, what was Disney making back in the 80s? Because they were getting ready to release, I think in 1985 was The Black Cauldron, which is kind of like one of the forgotten Disney movies, which I thought that one was okay. I don't think it was like as bad as they were panning it was.
So sorry, I'm reading stuff about Don Bluth and The Secret of NIMH. Mm-hmm. I had forgotten about this, so I would mention earlier about Secret of NIMH with the rats that were lab rats. Mm-hmm. So The Secret of NIMH, like NIMH in the movie, it's about the lab where the rats came from.
It's an acronym for the lab.
National Institute of Mental Health. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I never realized that until you and I watched it a couple years ago. I'm like, I didn't catch that, but yeah, that's what it's.
It's funny when you go back and watch like these old films as an adult now, because you begin to pick up on a lot of like the references, and innuendos. It's like, that's what they meant. There's a double meaning here. Definitely worth another watch around. Like going back to watching Don Bluth movies and everything, and really all those old non-Disney movies. Mm-hmm. So because there's quite a few of them actually. There was this one animated movie that went through like this legal limbo. I think it was like The Prince and the Cobbler.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, another popular movie that was not Disney, The Iron Giant. I forgot that wasn't Disney.
Oh, The Thief and the Cobbler. That's the name of that movie.
The Thief and the Cobbler.
Yeah, it looks like that. It went through all kinds of legal disputes and was renamed a couple times.
That looks like Aladdin.
Yeah, it's a different kind of story. But this thing, it was like edited and animated by so many different like teams, I guess. It took forever, but it finally aired. Thief and the Cobbler.
I've never heard of The Thief and the Cobbler.
Mm-hmm. Found all kinds of new stuff.
But then, I just looked up movies that weren't Disney. But The Iron Giant was not a Disney movie.
No, that was not.
Oh, and then another one that we watch pretty frequently still, The Prince of Egypt.
Yes.
That is a phenomenal movie.
DreamWorks. And DreamWorks actually had a thing, too, where, like, if the animators were, like, if they got in the doghouse about something, they were basically reassigned to go work on Shrek. Because that was like
their punishment, right?
It was a labor intensive because they'd never done like a 3D animated, full 3D animated movie like that before. And lo and behold, it turns into like this phenomenal franchise that's worth how many billions?
Oh, I know.
But it is weird going back and looking at the old test footage for that too, because do you know who was originally supposed to voice Shrek back then?
Oh yeah,
Chris Farley. Mm-hmm. And there's actually test stock footage, if you check on YouTube, that actually shows him, reading lines for Shrek with Eddie Murphy.
Wasn't the majority of the movie already done? Like, he had voiced the majority of the role before he passed, and then they had to go through and redo
a bunch of it.
With Mike Myers.
Yep. And, honestly, kind of serendipitously in a lot of ways, like, Mike Myers came on board and then did his famous Scottish accent, and bam, rest is history.
Oh, another non-Disney movie I watched. I just remembered. I saw it on the list here. I used to watch this a ton. I remember my grandma recorded it for me off the TV. Mm-hmm. It was The Last Unicorn.
Oh, yeah. That's another one. That came out in the 80s, didn't it?
It might have been the 70s or the 80s, but actually...
And Christopher Lee, I think, was in that one, too, wasn't he?
But it was a Rankin Bass cartoon.
Oh, yeah, Rankin Bass. And they came out with Lord of the Rings and everything, too. I think they did, like, rotoscoping and stuff like that, didn't they? Where they were, like... drew designs of cartoons over like real life actors or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Last Unicorn came out in 1982, but it had Alan Arkin, Jeff Bridges, Mia Farrow, Christopher Lee. Like, it had all kinds
of big names.
Angela Lansbury did a voice in it.
Gosh, Rankin Bass.
I mean, when you think of Rankin Bass, a lot of times people think of like
the Christmas stuff.
Like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But yeah, Rankin Bass did The Last Unicorn.
Yep. And they also did like a Hobbit cartoon and Lord of the Rings and a Return of the King. I think like a 2-part Lord of the Rings series.
But I remember specifically coming over because I always wanted to watch. I think my grandma introduced me to that. I think she did. But I remember, she recorded it on VHS on TV, the ancient art of recording.
Or you used to go to like a dollar store, pick them up for like, what, VHS. $10 for a whole 5-pack of them?
But yeah, she did. And I would come to her house and I would watch The Last Unicorn.
Last Unicorn.
And the band America did the music for that.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say the intro sequence for that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
DreamWorks movies. See, most of DreamWorks stuff kind of came out after the 2000s, after Shrek. They were just like, they kind of pioneered the whole, they did Small Soldiers. Yeah, trying to go way back in the past with DreamWorks stuff.
Now I have America songs go in my head. Been through the desert with a horse with no name. It felt good to get out of the rain.
Oh, another one that I loved was Road to El Dorado. That came out in 2000, but that was...
Was that a Disney?
That was DreamWorks.
Oh.
That one, I think, was after Prince of Egypt. So that's the one where they actually have Elton John as like their main...
yeah.
Song. With the Someday Out of the Blue.
Yeah, like you said earlier, those songs went hard for some of those movies.
Well, especially like, oh my gosh, yeah, you had Elton John with Road to El Dorado, and then before that, a year before that, was Tarzan with Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Which he just, he had pulled out all the stops for that one. Lord, that soundtrack was legendary.
I like the memes you see, like, it's just a movie about monkeys. You don't have to go that
just
hard.
Like, Phil, tone it down, man. Holy crap.
It's the guy playing the piano that's on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, oh my gosh. Yeah, Disney music was just, Disney and DreamWorks, they were just at the head of the pack with that stuff. Because, Prince of Egypt, oh my gosh, they brought in Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey singing together. It's like, holy shit.
But, I mean, all the songs from that movie are so good.
Everyone's sweet.
Yes.
And then I remixed What Deliver Us with, like, a pizza delivery service. And, like, these pizza, workers are just, like, slaving away in the back kitchens. Sauce and cheese. And cook it up.
Oh, wasn't there a movie you liked called Cats Don't Dance?
Yes, Cats Don't Dance is fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. The Brave Little Toaster.
Holy crap. You want to talk about dark and depressing? Yeah. There we go. Right down that rabbit hole again.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you make a very valid point. Like, now thinking back to all these old movies, holy crap. How are we not all like, so many millennials and like younger gens are in therapy. With all the animated crap that came out back then, I kind of see why.
Yeah, seriously. That's another movie I would rent pretty frequently.
Brave Little Toaster.
Which, thinking back, what was that planning session like? Oh yeah, we're going to have a movie about a sentient toaster.
Yeah. Like it's killed or something. It's like, ugh. Hey, look, Lampy, it's the really big lamp. And they're like looking up at the sky.
Sorry.
Must be one of those 1,000-watt bulbs. Yeah, Brave Little Toaster. That one was. Whoa.
Yeah.
What studio made that one?
I don't know. I'm just looking through a list of old movies.
Yeah, but I remember there were a couple sequels for the Brave Little Toaster.
Yeah.
So I think I saw a couple of those. The Swan Princess is another one.
Oh yeah.
So do you remember Swan Princess?
I remember that.
Yeah. And then a couple straight to DVD sequels of that one as well. FernGully 2.
I've never seen FernGully. I think I tried to watch a clip of it and I couldn't do it. Yeah. Could not do it.
A Secret of NIMH 2?
No.
Don't want to ruin the experience of the first one?
No.
Don't want to get Phantom of the Opera with Love Never Dies?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
if you ever get a chance, do not watch the sequel to Phantom of the Opera. Oh, my Lord, is that thing garbage. Hot garbage. You remember Balto?
I do remember. Actually, Balto is at the Cleveland History Museum.
Yep, he's up there.
Oh, when we started talking about possibly doing this podcast, do you remember a couple days ago I had mentioned a movie, not animated, but I remember watching it as a kid. I think it was like Wizard of Oz Return to Oz. And I remember the scene where it was like it's been so long since I've seen it, but it freaked me out. Like the witch was like headless and she had multiple heads.
Oh my.
You were in this room and she had all these different heads. Oh, it freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah, there was a lot of
I don't know if that was a fever dream or not, or if anybody else has seen that movie, but I swear that it exists.
Yeah. Dark and grittiness.
Yes.
You want to go back and watch a few of these things now.
I know. Now I'm thinking, man, now I want to go watch The Brave Little Toaster again.
Oh my gosh.
And Secret of NIMH, and I want to watch We're Back. I want to watch that one.
Pretty sure we've got that. If not, I'm sure some streaming services.
Oh, I'm sure.
Rockadoodle. Yeah, all those classics. But yeah, it's a cool wrap up. Oh my gosh. So many depressing stories.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I mean, but they were so good though.
Yeah, a lot of bittersweet ones, I think, because like there'll always be some type of like redemption thing at the end, like oh, and everything's okay.
But they don't make movies like that anymore.
No, probably for good reason, because they're kind of traumatizing.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
No, but
Kids today have movies so easy. I mean, I do like the 3D animated movies of today as well, because like Kung Fu Panda, Shrek.
Yeah.
So a lot of those movies, I think are really awesome.
I do still sometimes miss like the old style animation movies.
That's the thing, yeah, because Shrek really kind of like it was like the trailblazing moment where that really set the tone for the new industry.
Well,
standard.
I think that and Toy Story,
yep,
were the two that really
Pixar.
set. Yeah,
yeah, because the Disney animated studios basically turned to more like Pixar shortly after these things really caught on. So that's why something's kind of lost there too. It's kind of sad.
I mean, obviously, they still have to put like tons and tons and tons of work. I mean, I think when they were making Shrek, didn't they say it take like 2 years just to animate Fiona's hair?
Yep. Well, I think the only one that's come out, I guess you could say recently, but not really, was The Princess and the Frog with Disney.
Yeah.
Princess Tiana. Like, that was kind of a cool little, like, homage and throwback to, like, the old animation style. With a lot of, like, modern day twists to it and everything. Like, they still have, like, computer stuff that are intermingled and mixed in there. But that's about the only one I can really think of that's kind of, like, reminiscent of back at that time. Really kind of capturing a little bit of magic from the Disney Renaissance. So, because it did kind of wane towards the end there with, like, from Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and, Mulan. Probably after Pocahontas, I think, is really where it kind of really started to taper. So even though I loved Hercules and Mulan, I thought they were great movies.
Hercules came out on my 10th birthday. Mm-hmm. It came out on so I remember I had my friends spend the night and we went to go see Hercules. Are there any other Don Bluth movies that we forgot to mention?
No. Like I said, we went down the list of all that stuff. So,
or just any other random. I'm trying to think of any obscure movies that existed back when we were kids.
Toaster. Oh my gosh. That one just way out of the blue.
Oh yeah, well, another movie which I know you don't like this movie. It freaked you out. The Dark Crystal.
Yeah, that wasn't really animated though.
No, I mean, but that
was Jim Henson.
Not animated, but I mean, Jim Henson did that one. Yeah, not Land Before Time. Dark Crystal.
Yeah, that one always kind of creeped me out with all the Skeksis and everything. And then the little that one thing with like getting its soul sucked out of it, and he's just like staring off into space. His eyes getting real big. I'm like, what in the world is this? That and the Never-Ending Story. Like,
I love Never-Ending Story.
What in the world is going on here?
See, all these movies I liked as a kid.
Yeah, they're dark and gritty and depressing. You were freaked out by.
Ugh. No, The Dark Crystal, great movie.
Ugh, freaky.
The Skeksis and the one was it Chamberlain.
And like they were like linked with a whole nother like sentient being, so like when one would die, the other one would just magically disappear or something.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the heck? Yeah, it was weird. Weird. But yeah, I think it's probably going to wrap it up for this episode. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time on It All Depends on the Situation. Have a good one.